recording. Good.
All right.
How are you doing? Good.
Hello and welcome to the Corpus Christi Songwriters Podcast. I'm Jules.
I'm Jimmy.
I'm Garrett.
I'm Casey.
And we're sitting here with Mr. Casey Lain. Thanks for joining us today, brother.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming out,
Yeah.
Casey, with this crazy cat behind us. Oh, yeah.
Cat found a mic clip, kicking it around. Maybe, I don't even know if listeners will pick up on that sound. We all heard it, but they might not even know what we're talking about.
For people listening, there is a young cat running around destroying things.
The last episode was the first time she made her appearance.
Oh, she did make an appearance. Okay.
You can hear the entire episode knocking things over. It's fine. It's fine.
Well, yeah. So, Casey, thanks for being here, man. We kind of wanted to pick your brains and kind of get you over here because you're one of our partners all the time for when we do stuff with House of Rock. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us a little bit about House of Rock and a little bit about the mission of all that stuff. Give us your spiel, man.
Yeah, right on. In short, Corpus Christi native, born and raised here, spent most of my life here or in the area, and then opened up House of Rock with my partners in 2005.
Oh my gosh.
It was just live music venue at the time, mainly rock and roll and punk rock more than anything.
Yeah.
Coming from our previous employment, we did little different things, and so we were trying to kind of be a little different at House of Rock and fill a void for a 500 cap rock and roll venue. Yeah. Anyway, 18 years later, we're still here. We've got a kitchen, getting back into doing more regular live music, coming out of 2020, and so that's about it. Just music. I can't play music like you guys, so I'm on the other side. I try to provide the stage.
We need people on that side.
Yeah, man. And then I guess to qualify that too, House of Rock it's kind of expanded not to just be rock stuff, because you're kind of our listening room on our festival, so you're really kind of like our classy seats in the seated and kind of a multi-purpose area, I think, is what House of Rock's cool for. There's all kinds of cool.
We found out probably after the first 6 months that in this community just can't support a punk rock, listening room or venue rather than they come out, but to come out every night, 7 days a week, it's not enough to cover the cost of living on the corner of downtown Corpus Christi. So, and being a huge music fan was an easy segue just to kind of start picking up. So we started branching out really kind of into reggae stuff. We did some Songwriter series back in the day, and there's that mentality on there. There's two kinds of good music and bad music. We try to promote good music. We succeed quite a bit, not always, but we're the best.
Didn't y'all do so y'all also sometimes have the chamber music?
We do.
Right?
For years now, the Chamber Music Society reached out to us. Joan Allison was kind of a visionary behind that whole thing. She wanted to find a place to do.
That sounds amazing.
It really does in there, man. It's crazy. It's awesome.
It's fun because it's a different environment. But every once in a while you hear the ice machine drop. Some ice, or you'll hear an AC
part
kick
of
on.
Being, part of being in a club.
It's a rock venue that you can hide those noises behind a PA. So when you're a listening room, we can get it pretty quiet in there. We sound treated it, enough. It sounds good, but you still get that ice drop every once in a while. You get reminded you're at House of Rock.
Yeah, it's essential.
It's the House of Rock ambiance.
That's the nice thing too. Is the House of Rock is the multiple. There's an area for 2 different stages, and the way we utilize it for the festival is we kind of close off that back room. And you guys, man, we didn't even tell you guys, and y'all put up posters of there's a listening room. Keep your cell phone silent. You guys nailed it. Every time we do it, it's awesome. So
we've had sidebar conversations a few times with y'all shows and others. It's difficult. We booked Fred Eaglesmith is a Canadian songwriter.
He's awesome.
We booked years ago, and I'm a big fan. Had him at the Surf Club many times, and bring him into House of Rock. We got people to come out to the show, which was amazing. But it was my rock crowd. So the whole time they were kind of talking over him. Which is frustrating as a musician.
Yeah, for sure.
It's hard sometimes to find that balance, and it took us a while. I think we've gotten further down that path. But in the beginning, getting into the songwriter type stuff was you have to train the audience a little bit. You do. We found communicating up front to turn your phones off works,
and people don't get offended. And if they do, if there's just a 1 or 2 person, but for the most part they get it.
They get it. I think most people are there to listen to a show. They go to a show like that, but there's always 1 or 2 of them. What is that? One bad apple spoils the bunch. It just takes one cell phone ding to set things, change the mood.
We've had it. Yeah, Rhett Miller was. Rhett Miller was really good, man. It was a fun one. It was a pretty big crowd. They were kind of more of a rock crowd, but they were very attentive to him, and like it worked out really well. I thought it was really cool.
I think those acoustic shows for some of those rock acts or alt rock acts, whatever you call it, old 97s, high energy band.
It was very high energy, just him.
When they come down to just a stripped down version, you kind of get the kind of diehard fan, the real fan that is there and is into the history and knows. It's a special treat to see somebody like that get up there with just the guitar.
He dug it too, man. Yeah. He really had a good time. Like it was. I could feel like the audience loved it, and then he loved it, and so it was that kind of like, this is awesome. Yeah, it was a cool experience.
Fun show to be at.
Yeah, man. I want to ask, or I really just want to like compliment in a way that like for those listeners who are not from Corpus Christi, who have never been to House of Rock. The first thing I noticed when I went into the venue, aside from everything kind of being as you would imagine for a place called House of Rock, right? Is that there's, for the sound engineer listeners, man, there's an RCF system with like an array with subs. There's an 32. There's a digital snake, and everything's set up in a way that like a traveling sound guy would be incredibly comfortable stepping into that room. And it's also like, I mean, there's a brick wall. I know that you guys don't ever mic up cymbals, and somehow I can always hear the cymbals. It's like as a sound guy, at first show I was like, what is going on with not micing cymbals? I know. Why am I hearing them perfectly? It's cool, man. But yeah, so I just, what I really like about you guys is that every show is, and I think I said this like maybe in the first episode where I was like, every show has flyers decked out, has full descriptions. As a person who is looking to go out for music, the experience is described, and no questions will be there, which is great, because I find that like if you're going to find music here in Corpus, man, there's not a lot of places that are like, hey, here's what's going on. Here's what we have going on this month if you sign up for emails. So anyway, but all the praise in the world.
We're great at that, man.
We call it the venue, and that's part of the model. I mean, truth be told, if you could make a living and cover the cost with just doing music and bring your own beer and bring your own snacks, I mean, that would be easiest for us, But the food and the bar is kind of a necessary evil to be a venue. So we've always tried to do our best to put venue first. And I've been fortunate since the beginning. We've had a marketing team. Sometimes me and one of the persons. Sometimes. Right now we've got 2 people on our team that are great at marketing, and Stephanie's in that position.
And that's one thing you've always had. It's a good marketing presence.
Well, surround yourself with good people, they say. So I'm fortunate. Stephanie's been doing it almost 12 years, and she just got promoted to GM. So she's running the whole show now. And
she's awesome.
Kate Zartucci, a student intern.
Oh yeah, okay.
Came on, she came on as an intern, and we had to like grab her. So now she's on as part of the team, and our full-time marketing assistant. So it's fun. Yeah, it's good. And also touch on the PA. Thank you, man. We try to keep things in working order. We just ordered some RCF powered monitors to replace our passive Yamahas.
Oh, the classics. Classic though.
Yeah, those things, they've been there.
Those things are tanks.
They were there for 18 years, man. And they've been built and rebuilt. And we got up recently, and it's like, man, they all sound a little bit different.
How much beer has been spilled and blood on those?
They're tanks too, man.
That's what I was saying.
It was tough. I like, with the curtains to match the drapes, or the carpet to match the drapes, whatever. And RCF, we've been so proud of that system, and it keeps people, like I said, touring bands come in and are happy when they see it. Sounds great. So get monitors and the whole system complete
to be matching.
Slender monitors that like let you see what the guitar player's pedal board has on it.
We're not quite going to be that high tech, but we're going to be new, and we're going to be 15-inch speakers. It's going to be good. But those Yamahas, I debated. It's like, man, I could go cheap and buy those Yamahas and probably last another 18 years.
They would, man.
I want the complete package.
Like a Buick.
My favorite story,
like the Buick of
the monitors. Kelly Moore is a drummer and Sweet Daddy, local musician. Also audio engineer. He ran Soundhouse Rock forever, and rockers come in, they put their feet up on the monitor and they lean on it, and it dents it in and damages them. And he spray painted no feet on them once.
Yes, he did.
We had a debate on, man, how's this going to work? It was almost became more of a green light to put your foot up on there. You know what I mean? So, but they made it, man. Those things have weathered the storm. So we're
Those need to be in the museum.
we go to SM58. I think our 15-year anniversary. We retired one of our mics. The 15 years of service. So we put it up on the wall. Still works. You know, so.
Of course it does.
Any emergency break glass, you know.
Yeah, it's a 58. You can throw it in the ocean and be okay.
Well, I'd like to rewind a little bit and go back to the very beginning and understand a little bit of how you got into the music scene to begin with. How you got from you started out slowly booking. Is that how that works?
Yeah, so I was actually, I was bartending and grew up a music fan, right? And in Corpus in the early 90s, what you do is we had a music scene here in Corpus. There's EJs and backdrafts as kind of the small rock dives, and they had, I think Zeros was being born around that time. Then you had the Coliseum. Corpus had a good music scene, but really every other weekend, the goal was to get to Austin and go to Liberty Launch or the Zona Rosa, some emos and catch a good show in Austin. Yeah. And so the goal was work at the surf club for a summer, make some money, and go to Austin. Met a girl, became a young father during that time, and I was fortunate that Brad Lomax, my old boss, and Thurman Love, my old GM, gave me a shot at managing. So I just started working there as a bartender and got into management there. And truth be told, I'll tell everybody for years, it's I showed up to work every day, and not everybody else did. So I got a couple of promotions.
It's huge, right?
I had another couple of guys quit to move on to bigger and better things for them. And so at a pretty young age, early 20s, I was booking the surf club, and then that was at that time we were doing open mic with Ray Summy on Wednesdays, so it's still going strong today. And then we did Thursdays and Saturdays were touring acts. Fridays were cover bands, local cover bands, and on occasion we would do things on Sundays or off nights. But generally speaking, that was it. And it was a lot of songwriter stuff. It was a lot of Texas country and kind of red dirt. And there's a bunch of names for it. Americana. And then on occasion we would get to throw in like the Texas rock, like the Blue Octobers and the Vallejos. The Burden Brothers.
I remember Vallejo playing there a lot. When I was
they were
felt like them and the Toadies maybe played a lot of or the Burden Brothers.
Burden Brothers quite a bit, and Blue October was there quite a bit, and so we had a good rotation of just good kind of Texas regional music, and then from time to time, one of my proud moments, I got to book the Dead Kennedys one time.
Nice.
So that was a lot learned that night, first punk rock show ever, anyway, there was it was fun. So that was pretty much, I think I put in almost 9 years at the surf club, and left for no other reason other than it was just a long summer, and moved on to Concrete Street Amphitheater, and I was there for 2003 to 2005, I want to say, and did talent buyer for Concrete Street as well as help with the concessions, and it's mom and pop place, locally owned, so you can wear a lot of hats like you do at any place. But
who'd you bring in for Concrete Street?
You know what? There's a ton of bands. I mean, probably if we're going to go to my proudest moment, I mean, Social Distortion, rock and roll, punk rock, and those guys to me have always sounded like they're kind of like the outlaw rock a little bit, kind of have so one of their albums, Somewhere Between Heaven and Hell, to me it sounds like a country album with distortion.
Pretty much is,
So, but I like the Social, so I got to book those guys a couple of times. Willie Nelson, B.B. King.
B.B. King.
We had a show, the greatest show that never happened once was the Black Crows, Blues Traveler, Lucinda Williams, Los Lonely Boys, Del Castillo, and man, there's one or two others I'm drawing a blank on, and then a hurricane near miss Corpus. The whole thing got canceled, but that was probably my most proud.
Was that Blues on the Bay?
That was a version of Blues on the Bay.
Dude, I saw one of the Blues on the Bays at that time, so I probably
B.B. King
with B.B.
B.B. King and Los Lonely Boys.
Yes, that's where I first saw Los Lonely Boys. First saw BB, and I think one of those times it rained a little bit, but BB still came out and played.
Yeah, that's true.
Dude, that was a killer show.
There was, I think one of the shows, Rocky Benton. Rocky Benton played on.
Yes, I was at that show.
I want to say Michael O'Connor was on those as well. So those were
those were cool shows.
Yeah, those were fun. So Concrete Street was cool. It was the first time. I come from Surf Club. My previous booker, Thurman, was self-taught, and then he kind of taught me what he knew. And then going into Concrete Street, you start to deal with like AEG and Live Nation and some larger promoters. And, it's really the same. It's the same business. There's more zeros at the end of all of the numbers. There's more stage hands and more lights, but it's really kind of the same. But the production was really cool for me to see the cool stuff. I didn't book him, but I was part of the team. brought in Toby Keith at one point.
Oh, nice.
His heyday, and we had to bring cranes in to put video walls.
God, I bet.
Had this
Like
big
a
giant
huge-
truck on stage. I mean, it was a massive deal. So, Def Leppard was a cool one to see, and of course on the rock side there's Evanescence and Nickelback. I think Nickelback sold out a few times.
Yeah,
so
I remember that.
there's all those types of bands. Were always fun, and Christi was great to work. I missed after a couple of years I missed the feel that I got at the Surf Club. I knew my customers, I knew my staff, I knew
more intimate.
For sure. And it's different. I like being able to see a band kind of start off in one area and end up at Concrete Street, and those larger venues, So, when the opportunity to get House of Rock going happened, man, I just had to jump on it.
Where did that come up, Casey? Was that place available and you were like, I'm going to do a venue, or what was your goal?
So there was 3 guys actually that opened it, and 2 of the 3 I had chatted with previously about some opportunities of some property that was coming up.
Nice.
I was doing a bar, and so the bar guys that were all friendly with one another, and they had some sports bars that they had run pretty successful, and some other local bars, and they actually got House of Rock up and running, and it was about a month or 2 into it. They reached out and said, hey man, we've got this thing rolling. We have another partner in it, and we're struggling, and if you want to come in. So I kind of got in with some sweat equity, which was walking away from a job with insurance, and I was a single father at the time, so walking away from a job with insurance, and and I wouldn't say nights and weekends off because it's a concert business, but generally speaking, the shows weren't every week over there, and at the time we did about 50-60 shows a year, and which is a lot for a venue that size, but I still had enough weekends and nights off to where it was a recommitment, and but the trade-off to get into a place to be in a position to help it's a different vibe, it's a different scene, and I think there was a void for that in Corpus. There wasn't a rock venue or any music venue at that time booking the type of acts that we were booking.
There was nothing of that kind when I moved here in 2003. It was new.
Yeah, and Zeros has been around forever. Was around forever. And that place was iconic. We got Boozers now, and it kind of took over. That side of it. But there's always cool venues and divey bars. But we wanted to be a place that could park a bus in front of our venue and sell hard copy tickets and have it on the website, and be a venue, So, that's kind of how the whole thing started. Like I said, always a music fan. Like I said earlier, I tried playing music and my hands and mouth don't work at the same time. It's frustrating, and so being able to provide a platform for others who can do it to
fostering it.
It's a good feeling.
That's awesome, dude. That kind of like dovetails into kind of the other thing I was going to ask you about is so we're a music friendly city now by the Texas Music Office. You kind of spearheaded that, Casey, right? Like what tell us about that. Tell us about what that involves. What does that entail for Corpus? Like
it was actually, I've gotten some credit for it, but it was kind of a unique collaboration. We and long story short, I give the Cliff's notes, but for years there's ASCAP, BMI, and CSAC, right? And this is how musicians get paid. And I believe in those entities. However, I don't always believe with their billing structure. So as a music venue, we pay into several thousands of dollars a year to these entities so they can go back to the pockets of musicians. Well, after years of paying musicians out at the end of the night and saying, hey, do you collect your BMI, ASCAP, and CSAC? The overwhelming majority of them locally say, what are you talking about?
What is that?
No, So, of course, I get frustrated because we don't pay bands great to begin with because, all the equipment we just spoke about and the staff and the rent, and things tend to trickle down. And artists, unfortunately, in many types of art medium are the last ones to get paid with the shake at the bottom of the bag, whatever you want to call it. So, I get being frustrated with that. I was on a mission for a few years to figure out how to get those entities, the PROs, performance rights organizations, to hold some sort of a seminar, something, at least come down here and teach the locals how they can get their money that I'm paying to put in their pockets, And for years I kind of fought. I battled the guy on the phone who was collecting the check, and realized later that that's the collections department, not the artist outreach department.
Oh, okay.
So, through just a couple of phone calls and talking to the Texas Music Office, Brendan Anthony and Chip Adams, their crew up there, great to work with, and I've had the ability to work with. Brendan Anthony was a fiddle player for Pat Green.
Yeah, Brendan's so nice.
So suddenly, Texas happened, right? Things got real small, real fast, and expressed some frustrations, and they said, "Man, you need to reach out to these guys and let me give you the artist development side of the business."
Nice.
And so I got in touch with a few folks at BMI and CSAC, and they agreed to come down for a music industry symposium at House of Rock, which the whole goal of that was to kind of help teach musicians, hey, there's a lot of sides of this business. I'm a professional in the promotions side of it, and I can tell you from experience, you're not going to get rich being an original songwriter, but there's marketing, and there's touring, and there's T-shirts, and there's publishing, and there's all these things that I know nothing about. So anyway, if I can make a long story short, we got these folks to come in and have a symposium, and during that time, I heard through the grapevine that another organization, Visit Corpus Christi, was looking to get involved with the music commission. There was a tie, and Brendan and Chip suggested that maybe we get together and become a music-friendly organization.
Nice.
There's a few things you have to check off the list, and one of them is a workshop with being music-friendly. The symposium would cover that, would check that box.
Nice.
And, a board has to get formed, and a few other things. It wasn't too painstaking, to become music-friendly, but it's basically just a designation you get from the state that says, we're friendly to music. We recognize ourselves as that. We want everybody else to recognize us as that. It's a tool that we're still figuring out, but it's a tool that we can use to help promote music in Corpus Christi.
Nice.
That's kind of how that stuff came about. So it was an idea for the symposium, and then that lined up with Visit Corpus Christi, and then Jimmy Smithwick, who we were talking about earlier, jumped in the committee to help put this together, and we formed a small group, and then y'all had the Songwriters Festival that same time frame. So there was a segue, and it was a good partnership. Michael O'Connor and a few folks that you guys had coming through spoke at the symposium, and then I saw some, for lack of a better term, some love connections with Linwood King and a few others that spoke with the Songwriters, and so it was really kind of people that are all struggling with the same how do you make this work problem, but they might be from different genres, and they might be have different goals. They might sing in different kinds of clubs, but the problem of how do you get from city to city, how do you monetize your efforts, is the same for almost any genre. So that was really cool.
It's universal.
Universal. So that's kind of how that music for anything came about, and really it was a collaborative effort, between some of the folks that I worked with, House of Rock, the marketing team, and Jimmy Smithwick, and the Texas Music Office, Visit CC, and then Downtown Management came in and helped throw the party, at the end as well. So
that was a big party.
That was fun.
It's huge.
The music book, if you will.
That was awesome.
So I want to ask if did you have something to do with bringing together the Post OG as well? Because I wrote an article about Ty Dietz for Steam Magazine, and during that article, he mentioned your name about how he kind of, when Ty was assisting Brandon, I believe it is, bringing together the Post in Orange Grove, which is a great venue.
It's a cool place,
I was just there on Saturday on a pretty cool bill. It was like me, Ty, Scott Sandell, and Stoney LaRue doing an acoustic set.
Nice.
So it was great to to have been there before as like their photographics capacity.
I saw you
Ray
that night.
Wiley and Ty.
Ray Wiley.
But in that conversation, he was like, Casey is like the guy that he consulted or something in order to properly advise.
I
place up. So what'd you do?
Man, I'm not in a position to take credit for anything with the Post OG. But Ty and I, we bounced some ideas off of each other. You know what I mean? And I kind of gave him some input on what I thought. And some things that they should maybe consider while they're building that out. I don't know how much of that trickled down to the Post OG, but if there are royalties involved, I absolutely had something to do with that. All kidding aside, I tried to. It's a balance, and I try to share knowledge that I've learned through just bobbing and weaving and getting kicked in the teeth, with people that maybe are newer on the scene. Because at the end of the day, you want music to succeed. And some people, including myself, sometimes feel like, hey, how much help are you going to give the competition? But we've gotten to where we've gotten through trial and error. And anytime a new venue opens and somebody starts promoting music, and a staff member or a band will always show up, hey man, what are you going to do to combat the competition? And I always say, clean our bathrooms, man. Like, we've already figured out how to keep the PA on. We've already got the room sounding well. And we've got our pizza ovens, running, they're piping hot. And so what can we do to combat it is make sure that when people walk in the door, we greet them, and welcome them, and not just the customers, but the musicians, And so when other venues are learning how to do it,
you guys are always good.
Kind of past that, And also too, truth be told, I've been known to give out recipes for are meatballs and sauces, and people say, why do you do it? And man, it's not hard to make a meatball. It's hard to get a cook to come to work every day at 9 a.m. and make the exact same meatball every day. You know, that's the tricky part. You know, it's like running a venue is there's so many things to it, and really the hard part is not building a stage or putting a PA in. That's really the fun part, especially if you have the funds to do it. The hard part is making sure you've got a backup, cable that runs from front of house to the stage when that one goes.
All these little logistics.
So how do you figure what's your plan B? And I don't try to live with plan Bs in mind, but just through default, I've created a lot of plan Bs on the fly. And I've been fortunate to work with a lot of people, and a lot of touring guys will come through if there's an issue. These road dogs, man, they'll look at something they've got to fix. It might not be the best fix, but the show goes on.
You know what? I can figure this out for tonight. Yeah.
So
that's.
But yeah, it's a great venue. I've heard
it's cool,
success stories of it.
Yeah, we were at Ray Wiley there with Ty and JM played right before. Yeah, that was a cool show.
It was a great show.
Yeah, they set it up for people to sit. It's kind of like a listening room thing, but it's open. It's out there, open air. But of course, there's like a dance floor, and so at the end, people were all going up to the front. So
sure.
It was cool. It was very cool.
When did they open the Post OG?
This year, sometime, I think, maybe last year.
I'm not even sure.
Very recent.
I'm a whole new entry point into this scene with fresh eyes.
Not very old.
I've not been here, right? And I know that as soon as I came into town, I realized that the nexus, there's a sort of local musician that makes the rounds as a songwriter and the working men's music places like the Exchange, right?
Yeah.
But all of us look at house as in a house of rock, man, as like a second home.
Yeah. For sure.
And it's and you feel that vibe between all the stickers behind the stage and the back wall,
Very.
You feel that vibe even little things even when you're walking through that hallway, somebody had to go in there and create that level for wheel road cases. You come off the stage. Somebody thought of it. Put that stuff in there.
Thought of the little details.
So it's so I feel a lot of love when I'm in that place, and I'm sure all of us do. It's really wonderful to come down here and then find a spot like what you're doing out of love for it, and I think there's more there because your brother, isn't he a sound guy, dude?
Yeah, man.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So what's going on that both you and him came up, and you're both heavily involved in music.
For the record, I taught him everything he knows. He's not here to rebuke that. I've taught him. No, so Aaron worked at the Surf Club. I think a brief time with me, but he's just he's a musician. He was a drummer, and man, he played around town in a bunch of different bands back in the day, and had a lot of fun with it. And then he went to college and graduated. Then he went to Pernalis, I want to say, a Willie Studio.
Okay.
I think he put in some time there and got a certificate and came back and worked at the Surf Club, helped Manny Morales with AYS and his company for a while. And then I want to say Jason Boland picked him up for the road. So he was out with Jason Boland for a while. And then he got picked up by Turnpike Troubadours. And so he was out with Turnpike Troubadours for a while, a few years. And then,
traveling sound guy with them?
Yeah, traveling sound guy with them. And then he got picked up from there to Morgan Wallen. And so now he's been out with Morgan now since he's been back out after post-COVID stuff. So in between, he got to work with Robert O'Keefe for a while, and he would do the whole 97s for a little bit. So he's kind of filled in some gaps here and there. But yeah, he's got himself a good gig now, and totally coincidence. I don't think I never set out to be as a promoter. Just I had an opportunity at the Surf Club, and that's kind of what I was doing. I love music and kind of went down that path. And I think same for Aaron. He loved music and was playing, and supplemental income, learning how to run sound was fun for him. And so he kind of from that led to another and
started making money, and then that was it. It's crazy.
And Aaron's a go with the flow kind of guy. He can live on a bus with somebody without pissing everybody off. That's the trick to being the road dog. He's good.
Yeah, man.
And, super proud of that guy. But yeah, small world. So he the managers, some of the managers from Morgan Wallen actually were touring road guys for Phil Pritchett, songwriter
Yeah,
for Pritchett,
I remember Phil.
for the Texas country scene. But yeah, Phil Pritchett and a few other guys, and so they would come through. Honey Brown those days, and so they would come through.
I remember Honey Brown, yeah.
Like merch guys and tour guys. Pat Green's old merch guy is out with Hardy these days. So
Nice.
there's a lot of these Texas country guys and some old surf club heads that Aaron knew from that era, and was always friendly and cool with. And Turnpike, obviously, great band. It was making some good headway there for a while, and they're back again.
They're back, that's right.
So when they were looking for somebody, and Morgan was kind of blowing up, somebody in the camp was like, "Well, how about call Aaron?"
Nice.
So so he's doing well with that.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. I didn't know that. I didn't know all that, Casey. I didn't know you had a brother that did that. That's awesome.
Taught him everything.
Was he in what bands was he in? Is there any bands that we would?
Man was in a band called Feedback.
I remember Feedback.
Feedback sounds familiar.
Yeah.
That's
And he played with Sonny Salinas quite a bit.
Oh, yeah,
It was some
cool.
flat rock
Wow.
stuff,
Yeah.
So he did some. There was a rockabilly band, the Roadhouse Rebels, that he played in.
I don't remember those guys.
One of those guys, I believe, went to play with Two Tons for a little bit.
Nice.
And now it's up in Austin. But so he played kind of well rounded.
nice.
Stuff.
Yeah.
Everything from a little bit of the rock reggae to rockabilly to whatever was floating around at that time.
Nice.
Yeah, he's a man. He used to play drums, and this is where maybe when I say I can't play, my dedication was never. Aaron would play. I remember he was 13 or 14 years old. He would come down with blisters on his hands
playing.
and go up and play until they busted, and then come back down and bandage them, and then play some more. And
Wow.
My mom
like
tolerated it and
whiplash.
supported it.
Yeah.
And my stepdad was trumpet player in the symphony for years, and so he had what they call the music room, but he just room he practiced trumpet in
Dude,
every day. So
it's kind of essential.
Yeah, I grew up in a house to where you hear trumpets going and drums going. And my dad, I grew up on like I said, I'm from Corpus, but I said it's from the area. We grew up in Sandia, kind of by post OG. But
Yeah, I know what that is.
my dad played the piano and violin, so I grew up in a school. My grandmother played the piano, and so
Nice. Dude, I'm from down the road. I'm from Mathis.
I just
Oh yeah,
I grew up in Mathis.
Okay, cool.
played
Across through San Diego all the time.
Grunts in Sandia.
What's that?
I just played Grunts in Sandia.
Okay.
There's a place called Grunts.
Place called Grunts.
That's great.
Grunts, a good name.
Motorcycle.
Wait, that place has got the. So Tyler McCumber just played a place out there that looked really awesome in the pictures.
It's like in a tin shack kind of garage door.
So what I saw looked like it had a stage.
Or that part is connected to the pool hall part of it.
Oh
Yeah.
man, it looked
Yeah.
pretty classy. That looked nice.
It was a cool spot. It was a cool spot. I was happy there was air conditioning.
Yeah, I bet.
I had a fireworks stand when I lived there. I think that was they had a corner store that was
It was Grunts Texas Cantina, is what it's not Grunts Motorcycle.
okay.
Grunts Texas Cantina.
Cool.
Nice.
Yeah, man, I know Sandia very well from down the road.
Well, I have a two-part question, if you don't mind. One is bringing in the music-friendly designation. We've had not pushback. That's not the right word or right phrase. But people are like, what does that mean? What does music-friendly designation mean? What does that mean for the musicians here locally, but also what does that mean for the community when they hear music friendly?
Yeah.
But it's hard to get our community out to actually go see the musicians.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't sound very music friendly. So, what do you think is an answer to that?
It's a good question, and first off, I'll start by saying I think Corpus has been music friendly and a music rich community since well before our time. If you get with the Ritz and all the bands that came through that played the Ritz and the Coliseum, and even the bands that come through that are still coming through. I think that we struggle because of geography. I think that one to tour from Corpus to anywhere, you're about 2 hours from the next
anywhere
major city or big city, and it's expensive to tour and time consuming, especially that far away. And I think also I've got a theory that we kind of look to our brothers and sisters and our neighbors, which is Houston, San Antonio, Austin, and Dallas, and compare ourselves to them. And those are some of the most arguably music friendly and most cultural and most diverse cities in the nation and possibly the world in some ways. when you're comparing yourself to that, it's easy to have a self-esteem issue. You know,
Yeah.
so if you pluck us up from here and put us in the Midwest, I think that we'd be a lot more proud. We'd be standing taller. So to answer the question, I think Corpus is always music friendly. We just are now gotten the attention of the state and others to also understand we're music friendly. What does that actually mean? I think that we're music friendly on, you know, everything from what you guys are doing with the songwriter stuff to, you know, what Ray Summey's doing with open mic on Wednesdays to what the Exchange is doing with bringing in all kinds of new music and getting up on their stage. Yeah, you know, and I think that, you know, there's a lot of divey bars from, you know, Vernon's to, you know, to Rockets and, you know, there's a bunch of places doing music. I think we do struggle with getting people to come to shows, you know, and I don't know if that's necessarily a Corpus issue or if it's just an issue. You know, we compete now with a lot more than we competed with when I first got into business. You know, for example, cell phones. You know, people go.
It's not a thing before,
You're going to go home, you're going to shower up, and you're going to change, and I'll meet you at the pub. You know, and now you go home, you show up, you get on your phone, you start looking at all the things happening in the world, and you know, you can play video games now with people halfway across the world.
Yeah, you don't have
the technology. If you are a musician, there's so many people that are into their closet musicians. You know, and then just watching you guys come set up this podcast. Pretty quality podcast for minimal equipment.
Yeah.
You can now record music in your home. You can
and we do usually
use TV on surround sound, and you can watch Bruce Springsteen concerts in your living room and with a six-pack that costs you $9 versus a $7 beer. So, you know, we compete with a lot of that stuff, you know, so long-winded answer, but to come back around to what does it mean, you know, and getting pushback on it. You know, I've got some pushback from some local musicians that are like, hey man, that's for the politicians. That's for, you know, somebody to hang their hat on and say, look what we did for Corpus. And I can't argue with that. I think there is some of that to it, but at the same time, it's a politician somewhere recognizing that that the music is good for business. It's good for collecting those tax dollars to fix the streets and the American Bank Center, Prop 8, B or C or whatever comes next down the pipe. But, you know, you're bringing people together to come to shows and it has an economic impact. It's huge. And so, you know, choosing to understand that, this is a designation and a nice plaque for a wall, but it's also could be a tool used to improve our scene and getting people out to Corpus, you know. So I always answer that question with, you know, what do we want to do with it? Not, you know, what do I want to do with it or what does Corpus want to do with it? But I think it's there for Corpus to take advantage of. And, you know, Jimmy sits on the advisory council with me as well as a couple of folks from the two colleges that are here. And so we've got a mix of people that work with the city and visit CC. And then there's people that work for the universities that teach music. And then there's people that promote music and people that play music. So really, I wish there was a solid answer of, hey, this is our direct path, what we're doing. But so far, we've had the designation for less than a year. The symposium was the kickoff for it, which was a good educational, you know, event for local musicians. And then we had our music walk, which we partnered with the Downtown Management District on, and you know, 20,000 plus people.
For the listener, by the way, not to interrupt this question or this answer, but for the listener the one listener we have that doesn't know what the music walk was, what was the music walk? And
so our art walk has been going on for decades, maybe.
Decades,
First Friday,
close to decades.
First Friday of every month, the Downtown Management District, the local merchants downtown, and other vendors will come into downtown, close off streets. And now they close off streets, but they used to. It's grown to this. They close off some streets. They put up a few stages and a lot of art and a lot of food trucks, and then they ask art galleries to stay open later. They ask bars to program, so we all kind of program our night to kind of cater to an art type feel. It's a free event, and everybody comes in downtown, and it gets tons of people come out for it. It's a growing event.
It's a huge draw.
So September, the Visit Corpus Christi, which kind of houses the Music Advisory Council and kind of helped the designation of being music friendly, got together with the Downtown Management District and said, hey, y'all host y'all's event. Would y'all mind if we came in and hijacked it for one weekend and turned it into music walk? DMD was all about it. Visit CC brought some resources. A few of us got together and booked, and we ended up booking about 60 bands.
That's a lot.
And I don't know if it was like 11 or 12, I don't know how many venues, but that, or stages, I say venues, but stages. There were some street stages, there were some stages inside venues. And we had everything from hip hop and rap in front of House of Rock, which was the first.
Literally everything,
We had some Tejano, we had some mariachi, we had some brass bands, we had some cover bands, we had some songwriters, we had some rock and roll, we had some punk rock. And so really there's a good cross section of what Corpus had to offer, you know, and out of those 60 bands, you know, I can honestly say, I don't know anybody who turned down the offer to play.
No, it was awesome.
Yeah, there was a budget. Everybody got paid.
It was
arguably not enough, arguably too much. Depends on what.
Yeah.
You know, there was a little bit of a budget, and then we had a kind of a ribbon cutting type ceremony. The state of Texas came down and stood out in front of everybody and said, "Hey, congrats, Corpus!" And you know, the politicians we spoke of showed up and showed some support to it. I mean, it was a phenomenal night. So I think at the very least, if all we do once a year is throw a music walk festival and maybe go from 60 bands to 80 bands to 120 bands, I think if that's all this designation does, then it's worth doing. But you know, we'd like to see this program turn into something bigger and better. You know, we've created a music industry directory, which is live now on the Visit CC website.
Which is really
we learned today it's live. It's not pretty yet, but there's plans to make it pretty.
It's just a database at the moment.
So the music directory, explain that, Casey. It's like all the local.
Just
basically, right?
Industry, yeah. Nice. So if you're from the Coastal Bend and you are a musician, a lighting director, a producer, a band, a venue, a promoter, it's all in a central place. Nice. And so the goal with that for us, what I'm excited about is, you know, I do a lot of private events and corporate events and parties and stuff, and people will come in from out of town and they'll bring a cover band in from, you know, Houston, San Antonio, Dallas, or a blues band, or a guy in the corner playing guitar, and they'll bring these phenomenal musicians in from out of Corpus, and that's where we can improve. We should be able to, you know, there's a lot of good cover bands here in town. There's a lot of good musicians, and we can fill the void already. But what I find is a lot of these people coming into town, where do you find these bands? You know, and you know, I'm a wealth of knowledge, I think, for bands, but I deal with a lot of the same bands all the time. So if you ask me to give you a list of Corpus bands, it's going to look a lot different than what Manny Morales from Surf will get you, or you know, the Exchange is going to give you, just because we all are a little bit different. This is a place where every genre of anything can go and live, you know, so you can actually go and upload your information on there. It's already live, like Jimmy was saying, and it's awesome. There. It's a database, and they're in the process of working the back end to make it look cute, and a little maybe more user friendly.
Eye-catching.
But yeah, and to me, I mean, once again, that's one of the missions that we had. We started collecting data at our symposium, and I want to say we're pushing 1,000. You know, for the directory, and you know, there's got to be, I'm estimating, well over 3,000 people in the industry in our community.
We got a lot.
I mean, there's.
And to go back to what you were saying, Jules, you when you got here, you're like, there's no centralized anything, you know?
Yeah, dude.
That's the thing.
This is it.
That's what I saw the music-friendly designation doing. Was that is an issue that we have in Corpus, is that there's not enough consolidation. Folks don't get together and say, okay, well, this is a big thing happening this weekend. Let's not do it then. We'll do it this other weekend. You know, like.
I mean, here's the thing, though, is that like I love this idea of centralizing everything to like a centralized online place that everyone can access and list themselves, names, passwords, profiles, info about yourself, picture. Awesome. Like, that's great. I would say that, like, I've looked at people like, and God bless them, man, Deborah Scott Brown. And then Ronnie out on the island, right?
Ronnie,
It's like they're both kind of working in parallel. You know? And I don't know how many times they interact, but I would say that, like, they're both covering, I mean, they're both covering a lot, and there's a lot of overlap. And we see each other, you know, they see each other. I'm sure they're like, more power to you, solidarity, let's do it, you know? But they're all just verticals. And they're not something that's truly sort of unified, I suppose, even though that's what they're attempting to do. And that's why I'm like, it's so good what they do and why they're so valuable. Attempting to coalesce and you know, I
don't think you'll match the passion that those folks you just mentioned have for doing what they do and supporting music, you know, and everybody does it their way. But I agree. I mean, that's one thing I'd say. It's almost like herding cats a little bit.
Right, dude?
And there's so much. There's literally so much, like.
And this music directory and then the music advisory council and everything is not going to be, you know, we don't want to be nor dream to be the one-stop that kind of squeezes anything out. We want to be inclusive. In fact, Deborah and Ronnie, could list themselves in this directory,
Yeah, it's like
as well. But to the point of what y'all were talking about of just unity, it was in a meeting earlier today. Jimmy was there, and this music walk event, we had less than 8 weeks to put it together.
Yeah,
and we had myself. We had some help from Brewster Street, from American Bank Center, the Downtown Management District, and Visit Corpus Christi. All got together to make this happen, and this is the first time
anybody's worked together that way.
In my life, I have ever worked with more than one of those people at a time on an event.
Yeah.
I've done a lot with the DMD, I've done a lot with Visit, done a few things, American Bank Center and the Festival, the Castella Floyd, and I've worked for Concrete Street for a long time, but to get the Concrete Street folks and the American Bank Center, and when those things happened, 20,000 people showed up and bands got
shows you what you could do.
So I'm hoping this is the beginning of more of that, and I'm also really hoping that there's a formula that we stumble upon that somebody else can look at and say, how did y'all do that? Okay, this is how we did it. Now you can kind of do it. And I don't know what this is going to turn into, but I'd love to hear from anybody who's got ideas. And, there's a lot of ideas in this town that aren't all able to get done. But, having these conversations and hopefully inspiring somebody to do it. And I'm hoping to, not just inspiring somebody how to put a festival on, but if you go to that event and you're a musician, it's like, I don't think I could ever get on stage, but you see all these other people doing it. And then show up to an open mic, start it out, try it out, see what you like, and kind of go that route. But anyway, that's that topic of Corpus being a bucket of crabs and not always working together, and
it's a reoccurring thing. Yeah,
that was actually part B of my question.
True. Yeah.
But we kind of covered it with the music walk and how all these different genres, all these different people collaborated to make this amazing thing.
Rule, like a conversational rule, like Godin's Law or something about Corpus with a bucket of crabs.
That's a great.
That's the title of this episode, by the way.
Crabs.
But the thing is, though, I think Corpus has gotten better since.
Big time.
So when I got here in 2003, there was not much, there was really, it was metal bands and kind of reggae bands, and that was pretty much all you had, and there really wasn't a place for singer-songwriters or blues or rap or any of the different.
There was a good blues scene, but
was there? Well, before that, probably.
Yeah. Well, I guess in the 80s and 90s.
See, I missed all the cool stuff.
Rockets and Cantina Santa Fe.
Yeah, those. But yes, I missed out on all that stuff. But yeah, I feel like it's we slowly but surely. I think part of the goal too of playing music in this town or doing the CC Songwriters or doing any of the stuff that we do is to get people to stop saying there's nothing to do here, which is the stupidest. Dude, how many things? Look how busy you are, Jules. Just getting here. Come on.
I like to break it down to them. So we get people sitting in the front bar, and they'll sit there and spend, $25-$30 on a bar tab saying there's nothing to do. And it's like, hey, just, drink one less beer and buy a ticket to this local show going on. You could watch maybe 4 bands.
Watch 10, walk 10 feet. Yeah. Come on, man.
The breakdown is what is it, $10 to get in? And then if you divide that by, the 2 bands that are on stage and divide that by the 5 guys in each band, and it's what is it, less than $1 musician, something around there. That's probably the cheapest thing you can ever
see. They're usually great shows.
Have one less beer and feel better in the morning, and check out
support music,
and if you don't like it, hey, step to the front, have another beer, and check out the next band. There's a way. Corpus, I think, is getting better too. I'm starting to see a lot more, especially in the young kind of rock scene, bands will put these bills together with 3 or 4 bands.
I've seen a lot of that lately.
By the time the you're done playing your set, bands typically pack up and leave, and they don't stick around till the end. And I'm seeing a lot more bands these days pack up their stuff, come back in, and watch the
a lot of camaraderie, man. Yeah,
I think that's
like the NASA guys. That's very much those guys' style of this is camaraderie. We stick around for the other bands, and we all tuck into the small room and but we that's, you're there for the experience. You're there to see all 4 of those bands, and it's it's beautiful. It's a great thing. Yeah.
I'd be curious to gather your thoughts on this, Casey, because I was thrilled to discover this. Maybe we're talking about the same people, Garrett, same scene, but the Galvan Ballroom.
Oh, they're doing that now.
There are some
of the same folks from there, I think. Yeah. So Animal Mood, those dudes, and Up Dog and like that kind of those groups of guys.
Right.
They're all very cool. Like with
super cool, and all of
very community.
And all of Up Dog's members are like environmentally minded, politically active.
I love these kids.
I was like, these guys
are awesome.
But no, I'd be curious to have your thoughts on this. If you're aware of like some of the scene that happens at the Galvan Ballroom, that's, I shit you not, man. I was like, who puts on these shows? And it's like, oh, you gotta message this guy on Instagram named Crack Pipe Daryl.
It's like this random dude.
Right. And so I'm like, I can't believe I'm like about to message a guy called Crack Pipe Daryl.
Hey man, what are these?
So I messaged him, right, and he's like, just come to the show, bro. I'm like, I'm just trying to show up, take some photographs of the Galvan Ballroom. You guys have some
it's awesome
going on.
Did you take some?
I went, I took some pictures, but they have the throwing of an event framework correct in the way that they called the event something. They had a theme.
Yes.
They had like 5 bands.
Put it under an umbrella.
The flyer was like called like Under the Big Tent or something. And it was like encouraging circus costumes. And it was like.
That's so awesome.
Right. So I show up and it's like, you go up the stairs and there's stage and like Cosme Williams is playing with Oven, and it's like a heavy like thrash sort of band going on.
Nice.
But it's just like this incredible energy of these young people that are together, and I, being someone that kind of, I just, I think society right now is kind of lacking a lot of third spaces, right? There's not a whole lot of bowling clubs. There's not a whole lot of, and going back to there's nothing to do complaint, right? All that being said is that these kids are aware of the way that like public schools are stripped of funding and shit, and they're just making their own scene where these young kids are able to be placed in environments where they're allowed to be who they need to be and show who they are and community and
it's super cool.
Music and that scene, man. But like, were you aware of any of the stuff going on in the ballroom at all, brother? Like,
it's funny. So we do a catering house and rock on side gig. And, we did an event at the ballroom, Galvan Ballroom, and Bobby Galvan, whose family's had it forever. We're talking, and he's fixed it up, and I was looking at the stage and I was like, man, this reminds me of what's it, the Enchantment Under the Sea dance.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
You know what I mean? Like,
it's got a 50s,
to come out and kind of start jamming,
it's really cool.
Super cool. And it was, he told me at that time he was looking at it, renting it out, and let some events happen there. And I'm an old man. Look at those stairs, and I thought I can't haul a PA up these stairs. but that scene took to it. And man, it's super cool. I didn't attend. I saw pictures, heard about it. A lot of friends of mine went, and it was really kind of a cool spot, man. I mean, it's and I will say too, going back to big Corpus, and I'm always a defender of Corpus, but Corpus has always been very DIY, or DIY. There we go. But there was a scene. There's a CC Subculture DVD that Richard Guerrero put out.
That's what I was trying to think of.
Yeah. Watch that video. But
that's
man,
supposed to be awesome.
80s and 90s.
It is a great documentary.
Dude. So that's so I heard about that when. Angkor Wat got the star on the Walk of Fame. And I know David Nuss. I've been friends with David Nuss for a long time. I had no clue. Do you know David Nuss or Angkor Wat?
No.
Dude, they were a 1980s, late 80s, early 90s hardcore band that was like pioneering. And they were on Metal Blade Records from Corpus.
Wow.
Nuss was like 16 at the time as the drummer. But they got a Walk of Fame just recently, and he was talking about that video, and I was like, I had no idea there was this hardcore, like this crazy scene in the 80s and 90s.
It premiered at the movie premiered at the South Texas Underground Film Festival.
Nice.
They showed it at random at Rockets at 2 p.m. during the day or something.
Oh, weird.
But yeah, I was blown away. I didn't know half that stuff that was in that documentary.
I can see it.
I mean, it's like filmed with like VHS handheld recorders and things in it, but it's super cool. And there's a lot of interviews of musicians that are still playing Corpus today. But going back to those days, there wasn't venues, there was halls. It was like the Pavilion Hall and halls. And so I think what you're seeing with the Galvan Ballroom is this almost a throwback feel, whether it was intentional or where they just stumbled across. We can do it ourselves in this cool spot.
We got a cool spot,
but they found a cool spot and threw a cool party, and
now I'm thinking about PA and like what they do with PA up there. I'm like, yeah, you're right. I don't know if I could.
I think
I hope they have a PA that stays.
Played there when we were there doing the food catering.
Dude, they have a huge setup.
Yes, they brought some gear, and Jamin was one of their sound guys. And
poor Jamin.
Did you move this stuff up here? And he was like, yes.
Jamin's in good shape.
Yeah, no, he is, man. We got our lights from for jamming with a guy. But yeah, man, that's really, really cool spot, you know, and I like to see more stuff like that happen, you know.
cool.
And I mean, to me, NASA's like that as well. I mean,
Yeah.
they got a spot, and they were like, man, we got to make this work, and great
Got
people
a
always
vibe.
down there, and
very, very much a vibe.
good musicians, good music, good folks.
It's very cool.
Yeah. You have any other questions?
No, I don't have anything partying. It was, man, it was just.
You took all my questions.
It's good, it's good to talk to you, Casey. Yeah, like actually talk at you. No, man, we're excited to do.
Yeah. I did want to follow up with the symposium coming up. Because you are doing it again, correct?
Yeah.
That will be, have you announced it yet?
We haven't announced it yet. It'll be in February. I mean, it's
February.
Don't say anything.
Yeah. It's February. We're changing the format slightly. I think that last year we utilized Bay Jewel, and we had sessions happening at the same time.
Yeah.
And you couldn't make every session if you wanted to. And also, if you tried to, I think it would kind of burn you out. So we're still utilizing Bay Jewel. Got a keynote speaker worked out. And
Nice.
we've got some programming that we're still kind of tweaking on, but the format, the layout's going to be a little bit different than it was before.
Okay.
But instead of having 8 breakout sessions, we're looking to have probably 4 or 5. Probably host those at House of Rock and use the Bay Jewel for some roundtable discussions on things. And also set up some areas to where some of the speakers that speak at those breakout sessions can get some FaceTime at Bay Jewel. So if there's something that piques your interest, you can
do a
have
one-on-one.
conversation. Yeah, more one-on-one situation.
So it'll be like musical FYI, like if you're a musician or industry person or
to get along the lines a little bit, really what I'm trying to it's not coming together as quickly as I would like, but to truth be told, I'm trying to get out of my comfort zone once again. I know a lot about live music and how to promote a show, how to put a show on, the production side of things, and I know what to tell a band to do and not do when you're trying to get in front of a guy who's buying talent, but when it comes to publishing, when it comes to getting your music online, when it comes to, once again, monetizing your efforts in other ways other than ticket sales and merch sales, there's a whole world out there. And so we're working once again with Texas Music Office and our friends at CSAC and BMI are also helping us try to find maybe some publishers that can come out and teach people that end of things and how you make money with music these days, because it's an ever-changing business.
I know so many people that learned about the BMI Live thing at this last symposium.
I've had a few bands that had somebody reach out about 3 months later and says, "Hey, met you at the symposium. I've got a band. I'm starting a gig. Can you look at my website and see if?" And they had an electronic press kit.
What do you think of this?
They had the good pictures, and it was like, man, there's not a whole lot of critiquing. I
don't need to do anything.
Somebody took some notes and then looked at other people's stuff and figured it out. But there's so many things, and I won't go get long-winded. But one of the things that I'll get these all the time. We'll announce a good band. For example, Emery announced today, right?
Oh yeah,
so Emery's
huge.
coming out.
Yeah, people are excited.
And I get these calls of, "Hey man, can I get on Emery?" And I'm like, man, I know so many people, and I hate to say it, but I don't always remember who you are, what band you're with. I mean, I got to be spoon-fed, and all of us promoters are, hey, need your Instagram, your Twitter, your LinkedIn, your whatever you've got, and now there's different platforms, so you can send one link, and it has all of your social media, plus it has music and press kits and photos. And what people also don't always understand is I can't just say, "Oh, okay, cool, y'all want to open for Emery, well, poof, you're approved." I've got to most of the time send that to
really think if that's a tactical, strategic, beneficial, memorable, fun, profitable.
Get it approved by their agent.
They've got to get it approved by their agent. But sometimes their agent will send it to their management, which the management may or may not discuss with the band. But there's a chain that goes through before I can just say, "Hey, you can get on here." So when you're looking to get on to a gig as an opening band, we love having locals on there.
For sure.
But sometimes it doesn't matter how good you are or what it is. It matters on how good you look on a link, so there's this combination of it. So those are the types of things at the symposium. It's kind of like, people play music for different reasons. I've got friends of mine that, hey, I just want to play, and I want to play my songs. I'll play them to one person or 50 people. I'll do it for a slice of pizza. I just want a mic. And you have people that say, man, I'm going to make $500-600 a gig, and if I need to be in a cover band to make that happen, well, I'm going to be in a cover band to make that happen. And then if you do, and then there's the folks that are kind of like, hey, I want to play my own music, and right now I know it's an investment. Hopefully down the road I may making money, or I can sell a song and it can allow me to keep doing. And you just, and there's a bunch
been there
of
for 20 years.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different reasons on why people get up on stage, and so finding why are you playing music and what is your goal, and is your goal to make money? We'll sit back and evaluate and understand it. Unfortunately, people aren't paying big bucks for original music, until you become so popular, somebody else is covering your music, which then it's no longer original. You know what I mean? But it's like, you can get to a point of like, you gotta, and man, I wish there's a magic answer to make that work. But on that journey to get from where you are to where you want to be, if you can learn that you can write off guitar strings and you can write off mileage and you can write off a uniform and, just how do you file your taxes as musicians, and then also understanding that
we've slowly gotten to understand that with mileage. Dude, it's a huge thing.
The whole write-off game at the end of it.
Who's getting paid if the four of us are in a band and I'm always collecting the check? Come February, I get a bill from Uncle Sam.
I get hosed.
Hey man, I need you to kick in your part. And I've seen people just say, "Well, I'm not in a band anymore." Like that's who it is.
Exactly.
There's a lot of reasons. Keeping a band together just from a pure personality and scheduling standpoint has got to be painstaking. I've never tried it, but I can see it from the outside in, and then you mix in some financial stress and all those things with it. Man, it's tough. So
you got to really love it. You got to really love playing together, which
the goal for the symposium is always going to be, what can we bring to the table that can help educate a musician, and you will talk to some people, I'm sure, who will tell you, I'm the cheapest promoter. You never book my band, and you pay us in pizza and beer, and we're worth more. Why can't we get this? And then you'll talk to people that will say, hey man, thanks for the opportunity. We love the stage and we love working with y'all and we love what we get to do, and thanks for the pizza and beer. And there's a spectrum of that. And so I think for me and for House of Rock and for the whole music scene, cultivating young musicians and keeping musicians in business is in our best interest. And if musicians have a good package and they're able to draw people and sell tickets and get butts and seats, then House of Rock's going to benefit from that. But so is the Exchange, and so is NASA and Surf Club, and anybody who's got a stage. So it's really a community. And going back to the bucket of crabs, it's tough sometimes to I think a lot of people in this business, whether you're a promoter or a musician, there's a lot of egos that go around, and being the one guy on stage and having everybody look at you takes a special kind of person, And so sharing secrets and industry trade things is sometimes difficult, but I think the more roundtable conversations we can have and the more understanding we can be, and also too understanding as a musician that, your sole purpose to play a live gig, if that's what you're depending upon to pay all your bills as a musician, you're going to have a rough time, rougher than if you know all of the tricks, and how do you get money from Spotify? I have no idea. And those are the types of things I want to bring to
it would be nice
the symposium.
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
Nice
but there's a few people I know in town. They're like, hey, dude, I got $80 from BMI, man. Awesome. And
now you got to have 1,000 spins at least on Spotify. To get that new thing that came out or something like that.
There's some new. It's going to pay you even less.
Right.
I think Matt Martinez is pretty good about collecting his.
He's good. Jimmy Smithwick. There's a few folks out there that have look into it. And I don't want to sound like an asshole, but there's a lot of my friends, my dear friends, are musicians and artists of other types. And artists' minds, man, they work different than other people's. And then the people that are sitting behind BMI, however, they employ a lot of musicians or ex-musicians. They're business minded, and trying to explain to a young musician, who was just figuring out, how to put a song together, how to go to a website and click on a link and fill this out. You can get your money as they look at you like deer in the headlights, So bridging that gap between the artist mind and the business mind and figuring it out. I don't have all the answers, and I also want to learn, some of the stuff, because you don't know what you don't know, and there's a lot out there. So,
definitely. Man. 2 more questions on my end. I don't know if you have any more. Where do you want to see the music scene here in Corpus Christi in like a decade?
Yeah, it's growing. I'd like to see. I love the events that Corpus is having, like Day of the Dead and Art Walks, and not all these are necessarily quote unquote music events, but there's always a music component. You can't throw a party without good music, period.
That's how it is,
so I like to see that. I like to see, I know that the film in Corpus is also a big thing. I like to see some film and music connectivity, and between that. And, I wouldn't be opposed to more venues, and more bands and just more people on stage. And if we can continue to cultivate and produce good musicians out of Corpus, we need more stages. There's only so many places, you can play before you played them all.
Yeah.
I think we have a lot of venues kind of per capita, but there's a lot of genres that just don't come to Corpus, and we've kind of committed to the genres that we're committed to.
Yeah.
And even there's a lot of good bands out there, and I'll branch out every once in a while to get the brass band, Songwriters out of New Orleans or something from time to time. But, to do that regularly takes a commitment from somebody, So, whether it be a hip hop, jazz, rap club, or whether it be a listening room. House of Rock, y'all are very kind, and we can have a good listening show there. But once again, with the ice machine and the ACs, it would be rad to see, the Ritz come back to life.
Yeah.
The type of venue that you can hear a pin drop in between songs. There's still room to grow, So I think in Corpus, I think that as long as we keep moving in the right direction and really working with each other, and then like we were saying earlier, regardless of the genre, there's a lot of the same problems. Talk to each other, and if you see somebody who's figured it out, and successful, man, take them and get a taco and a cup of coffee. Man,
tell me what you did.
Right.
Yeah.
And then can you see Corpus Christi ever becoming one of those music hubs like Houston or Dallas or Austin?
I think that we can get to a better spot, and when I say that, I don't know if it would be the same as a Houston or Austin, but we can do what we do better.
Right.
And best. And
I think so.
An original Corpus Christi.
Yeah. And I think we're always going to be challenged with our geography. I mean, there's nothing that's ever going to change that. Manny, who I mentioned earlier, has a saying that if you don't turn left or right at the 37, you end up in the drink, and we're not at crossroads. Houston, El Paso, Dallas, San Antonio, they're crossroads and they're hubs, and joking around whenever COVID came through, but it didn't hit Corpus. And so Corpus says, hey, maybe it's the humidity, but suddenly we were the ones with 0 counts, and within a matter of, a month after everybody else was suffering, it kind of made it our way, because that's how all trends travel, whether it's fashion or music or whatever it is, and we're at the end of the highway, we're not at crossroads. So I think that we can do better as a community, and I think too, it's awesome to sit here and hear that there's a venue in Sandia that I've never heard of,
they're cropping up.
Post OG, and so suddenly in my mind, I'm thinking, shit, I'm always saying 2 hours from the next gig. Man, there's an hour to Sandia, or Orange Grove.
Not even gigs, quite that long.
They're closing the gap. So possibly, some of the surrounding communities grow. Portland's growing. Maybe one at some point, a venue pops up over the bridge.
4 days got Third Coast out there. If you ever bring listening people down,
there's a little circuit, and if you can create a little circuit, well, then that circuit can start to expand, and I think Corpus could be a hub for a circuit like that. But we're always going to be challenged with the drive. To the next spot.
Though, so, and this has something to do with you, Casey, probably. The fact that House of Rock's been around for so long and been kind of like this beacon that's consistent, I think has been an example for other folks to stay into town. Because when I moved here in 2003 for college, folks would come to here for college, they'd party for a while, and then they'd move off. The longer I've stayed here, the longer it seems like people like Carlos Cooper with Hybrid, the guy with the NASA, they've been sticking around. I think they've been seeing that, and that we have a unique opportunity with Corpus because it's not Austin. It's kind of neighborly still, because we're small enough. Traffic's not nuts yet. It's still city. We're still kind of an incubating period where we can get to know each other, and we all kind of know each other in the music community. And so I don't know. I think that we will have always trouble with the distance, but just for instance, when I moved here, Elton John, Bob Dylan, none of those dudes would have never come down here. And now they started coming down here, playing some shows and seeing how lucrative it was, and that, hey man, if you build it, they will come. They'll be there,
definitely can be more self-serving and working on that trend. Just to your point, what Dusty's done on People Street, with that whole street is turned into.
And they stuck around, they didn't take that somewhere else. They kept it here.
I think that the quality of life in Corpus too has changed. When you come to college or grow up in Corpus and there's things to do, you don't have that want and desire to leave. I think that's what it's like, a three-legged stool maybe. The college I think has a huge part of it. Dunbar's a great school, but also A&MCC is like man busting at the seams. So there's so many people that come in to that university, and not just the students, but the professors, the people that work there move to Corpus, and they start going out and figuring out, downtown's pretty cool. There's a lot of cool things happening.
Downtown looks better than it ever has. Stuff is actually in some of the abandoned buildings is growing now. That's the one thing that I would love to see eventually, is all the abandoned stuff
come back.
Yeah.
It's coming slowly. I think the art in general, once again, not just the music, art, but just the art you see up on the walls downtown. And I mean, it's
little examples of the growth of Corpus Christi that you can kind of take in day by day, man. Like just today, I think American Bank Center announced they booked Tool. For like December or January or something.
It's coming down.
Which, and then Cody Payne said, "Oh, it's been a while," which led me to think that they booked them in the past. But I left here in 2005. Didn't come back till 2022. But in 2003, I remember living here. And I went to Laredo to see Tool on the Lateralis.
And they're here.
Tour. But now they're a Bank Center. Bam. Tool is here.
That would have never happened.
Which is super fun. It's just super cool, man. And so, like, that's a sign of growth, too. That just little things.
Speaking of small world, I was texting my little brother Aaron. They were talking about earlier. He's a Tool fan. Hey, man, Tool's coming. You should consider coming home for the week, And he says, oh, that's rad. He says, our front of house for Morgan Wallen was Tool's front of house for 15 years. Talk about small world stuff happening.
When I saw that flyer today, I thought, oh, it's another Tool cover band. And then I read closer and I was like, what?
Yeah. And you know what? It's Tool with guests, isn't it?
Yeah.
The way that skull is shaped led me to think that perhaps it's a band called Ghost or something.
Ghost has played here before.
They played here before, right?
Yes, they came down.
Can't verify that's not, but yeah.
Yeah. They came down with Mastodon and Opeth, and I saw that show with Ghost
Mastodon.
open. Dude, that was a great show. It was in Concrete Street.
Wow.
I think that was after your time.
If I'm not mistaken, Gemini is the opening band.
Gemini, okay.
They're worth checking out.
Okay.
Gemini? I haven't heard of it.
Wait, my high school band?
Yeah, there you go. With a G, not a J.
Got it.
Casey, the very first show I ever saw in like my life was at Concrete Street, and Coal Chamber was headlining that show.
Oh my God! You remember Coal Chamber?
Coal Chamber, Slipknot. Nobody knew who they were before
early
Ozfest.
Yeah.
And I want to say Machine Head was on that bill.
I remember Machine Head, yeah.
Do you have anything to do with that bill at all?
And that sounds like a familiar package, but I can't tell you. It's funny. I used to keep track of everything I did, man. And at one point, and I've got this closet with stuff just buried in it that I've been kind of digging
of course.
I'm working on a little history project.
Nice. Hell yeah.
Some gems, but I can't tell you if I was a part of that or not. But I do remember that package with Machine Head on was talked about. So,
dude, Machine Head was the big band of those three.
Right, that was the one that I was really looking forward to seeing at that moment. I mean, I was a Coal Chamber fan too, and at the time I didn't even know who Slipknot was, and I don't think anybody really knew who they were that was there.
Crazy.
Because we were not expecting the 9 dudes in clown suits to come out and thrash, and I mean, I had never even experienced a mosh pit, let alone like what happens in a crowd when you.
It's insane.
And I was there with a girl, and I was like. Fearful myself. It was
you're like, oh, we're gonna get crushed.
Like, we're being thrown back and forth.
It's a great time.
I was like, yeah.
Sparked the memory, man. There was a tour that used to go around called Sounds of the Underground that would happen.
I remember that.
It was a metal heavy type of thing.
Yeah.
But, man, I'm a huge Clutch fan.
Great band.
Fortunate to have at House of Rock. But anyway, they played. It was like War, Clutch, and a bunch of other bands. But backstage by the buses, Clutch had set up this acoustic kind of set, and it was like the biggest treat of my life. You know what I mean? Which typically backstage is not what it's cracked up to be. It's work. It's people pushing cases, and and it's a working space. So to walk back there and see these guys jamming to jam, but those are the types of things that just gives me goosebumps, man. It's like you're coming to play. You're on tour. You just played your set. What are you gonna do with your free time? Play another set.
Play small,
you know what I mean?
Acoustic set.
Whoever is just walking.
They were probably just jamming. See, that shows you too, though. If those guys are good and those songs are good, they'll translate no matter what.
Yeah.
So you hear them acoustic, you're like, oh, these are still great songs.
When they do sound check, their drummer gets up, like Jean-Paul Gasser, I won't say his name, but anyway, he gets up sound check, and he gets up there, to get 10, 15 minutes before everybody, starts playing a little jazz riff. And he's just kind of, tinging the cymbals a little bit, kind of soft, and the band walks on, and they go into their song. He never stops playing, and they go into their heavy, rock song, and jam it out, and do sound check, and do whatever, and the band's like done, and he still sits up there and plays another. When you see this, people have a love for the music like that.
It's amazing.
It's moving.
It's magic. It's the closest to magic we get.
Super
cool.
That leads me to my last question. I think you kind of answered it maybe a little bit. Every episode so far, I've asked this question. We call it the almost famous question.
Oh, this is
so. I wanted your take on
carryover.
it. Yeah, I wanted your take on it. So at the end, I don't know if you ever seen the movie Almost Famous.
I haven't.
Yeah, so it's a guilty pleasure of mine, but
Not
at the
guilty
very
pleasure, it's great.
It's a great movie, especially for music lovers. But the main character is this young kid that goes and tries to like interviews with this.
Yeah, he's a little young journalist. Yeah.
And he's been asking this one guy the same question over and over, but he keeps ignoring him. And finally, at the end of the movie, he gets to ask him the question, and then he gives him the answer. And so this is the question: what do you love about music?
Oh, man.
The most generic, simple question.
Yeah,
but everyone always has a different answer.
I think music is man, it's been different things to me at different points in my life. You know, from probably middle school, my parents divorced, moved around a little bit. Man, I got turned on to kind of the pop punk. It was the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Jane's Addiction, Social Distortion
that
type stuff. And man, and to this day, when I put those CDs or MP3s or whatever back in, you play that music, it takes you back to a place at a point in time, you know, and I think everybody remembers their first concert they went to. You were just talking about the first Concrete Street show, and man, it's moving, you know, and so from a fan standpoint, so you put the right song in the right time of day, and it takes all your troubles away, you know, and you suddenly don't need to think about everything for this 4-minute song or whatever it is, and turn it up and maybe just live in the moment with it, and it's mood changing a little bit. As a promoter, man, it's just a good feeling whether you have a successful show financially or a loss. Whenever someone leaves after a show and stops you and says, dude, thank you so much for bringing these guys.
Isn't that
these
crazy?
guys were amazing,
Yeah.
you know, or I've never heard of these guys. I had nothing to do tonight. I came down and geez, man, I bought a CD and this was the thing, you know, and met my wife at a concert at House of Rock.
Yeah, of course.
Those types of things are from the promoter side. That's what I love about music. It brings people together. Like we said earlier, man, you can't have a party without music. You can't have you can't entertain people in a movie. You can't entertain people in your house. I mean, music is always a part of our culture, and it's just, man, it's touching, you know, and it's an art form, and you know, I've been just a fan of art in general, you know, my entire life, and envious of those who are able to pick up an instrument and just, you know, man, make it sound great, you know. So anyway, lots of things. Long-winded answer was a simple question with a long answer.
Exactly.
They all are, though.
That's the beauty of the question.
Music is subjective. It grows on me. Like I said, I grew up listening to more rock and punk rock. I started working the surf club when they were booking these country bands, and I remember telling my boss, like, what are you doing? Like, Songwriters and country. Like, what are you doing? It's a surf club. Like, let's get some guitars in here, man. And about 3 months later, I was buying a Robert O'Keefe Live Dinner #2 album.
It's a great record.
I think it was Mariano was a song I was after.
That's a great song, dude.
You know, when my boss comes up, what are you doing? And I was like,
I don't know, man.
I guess I'm a country fan now.
Good songs are good songs are good songs.
Yeah, but man, it's mind blowing. And there's times too where I sit in the House of Rock and I'm like, man, there's like, it's hot, it smells, it's loud. This band's maybe not even that good. And you look around, and you're like, man, there's 400 people in here that paid good money to see the show. They've got to be good. It's just not my cup of tea. And I think that's the coolest thing about music too. Is, you know, I'm never going to force my music on anybody. You know, like listen to it. And it's not for everybody, but there's something for everybody out there, you know, and once again, it depends on my mood sometimes on what I'm stuck on.
I just want to, I was reminded earlier in the conversation, I meant to bring it up, but I wanted to say that you mentioned Blue October and booking them at the Surf Club, and the other day during the Texas Indie Fest that was happening all day at the Surf Club, and I was there shooting photos of Jody Jennings.
Oh, okay.
And his band that was playing with, they were really great. I was like, they were awesome. But I was just there photographing, and I went to change lenses, and I had my stuff at the table, and I saw 2 dudes dressed in all black with tattoos, and I was like, these guys are clearly musicians. And
you can tell.
I'm like, you know, what's up, brothers? What do you do? You know, are you here for this? You're not here for this. You guys are serious. What are you guys here for? And they're like, oh, you know, we're in a band, yeah. I'm like, what's your band? He's like, Blue October. And I'm like, oh, so they were playing at the Bank Center that night.
Oh, nice. And they came out?
Yeah, and it was really cool that, like, they gave me a +1 for the evening at Bank Center.
Nice.
I'm going to see them later that night. But they were there at the Surf Club having dinner before their show, and there was a fiddle player that I had met.
Yeah.
And he was saying he was just there for straight up nostalgia.
Yeah.
You know, that he had played many shows there.
Nice.
And so
I accidentally I ducked into the Oyster Bar for a cup of gumbo the other day. Last time Randy Rogers was in town,
Yeah.
and he was sitting there at the bar, and we started shooting the shit, and you know, he pretty much, I would say, forced me, but strongly encouraged that I join him at the surf club for a beer so he can stand out there on the patio and just look at it. And I think he shot off a few pictures.
Nice.
Yeah.
I remember this place.
I tell you, man, to me that was a magical time. You know,
That's awesome.
if any, you know, love House of Rock, and, you know, but a surf club was always going to be the place. Man, they gave me a shot to do what I wanted to do, what they were already doing.
Yeah.
They gave me the reins and let me steer the cart, and it was like, you know, it was really a magical time to see some of those bands, and a lot of them when they come back through town will still stop by the surf
Very
club.
nostalgic.
On occasion, I get hit up by people that I wouldn't expect to hit me up. I mean, I'm one of many promoters that help these bands along the way.
Yeah.
And we help each other along the way. But, you know, and for someone to remember, you know, promoter to me is always like, man, how do you do that?
Yeah.
You know, every night's a different guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? A different crew, you know. But some good ones out there. man.
Corpus, though, it's special, you know? There's something friendly about it that people remember. Even the people we bring down for the Songwriter Festival, people want to come down here.
I would say though, man, that like not all promoters are built equally, man.
Yeah,
I
true.
have like
Yeah.
emailed and corresponded and then met and promptly like forgotten, promptly like been like, I don't really want to interface with that person again.
Yeah.
I mean, whenever I became a booker and I was also doing sound at the time, I always wanted to be a memorable but highly conscientious and hospitable to bringing them water and towels on stage before,
Clean
making sure
bathrooms.
all that shit. It's like so what I'm saying is that like the perspectives that flip as you go, almost like going on one side of the glass to the other in studio stuff, right? But it takes a very special person to occupy the role of a promoter and to like retain and nurture these sort of relationships over time that enable you to be the person that like Casey Lain is.
Yeah, well, thank you, man. Well, I'll tell you one thing that popped in mind, totally non sequitur, or maybe a little bit of relevance here, but you know, one of my favorite songwriters of all time is Hayes Carll. We were having, way back in the day at the surf club, we all had goatees or mustaches or something, and some of the guys in the kitchen were letting their neck, or maybe their chest hair come out of their shirt, and their necks were getting scraggly. Our boss at the time was like, hey man, y'all are all going to have to shave. If you don't, at least you can wear a beard, but clean it up. And this was back in the day at the surf club. You couldn't have face tattoos and piercings, and in fact, I had to wear a tie. There was no shirt.
Wow.
You know?
They were all-
So it was another. The executive surf club that started out a little bit more
Executive.
And I've always felt like, you know, one of my biggest accomplishments was getting out of that damn tie as a manager.
Yeah.
Man, it's 110 degrees out here.
Are you taller than Hayes Carll?
I don't know. We're pretty
he's a tall
close. He's
dude,
pretty
man.
tall. Yeah,
Is he?
Yeah.
He's a tall dude. I met him at Club Helsinki in New York after a show, and I talked to him for way too long.
Yeah, super friendly guy.
Really nice guy. And I was just like,
Well, he's playing surf club this night, you know. But anyway, we walk in the surf club, and the threat of shaving is the real thing. I walk in, and Johnny, who still works at the surf club today, Johnny Hernandez, and Johnny's like no mustache, and I was like, "Damn, Johnny!" I said, he looked at me, he goes, "Oh, you're next." He goes, "You've been off a couple of days, but there's a shaving kit in the back, and they're gonna make you shave." I said, "Man, Johnny," I was like 22 or 23 at the time. I said, "Man, I've had this goatee since high school," and Johnny says, "I've had my mustache since junior high," you know. And to this day, we still joke about it. But anyway, I go back to there, and I shave, and then now we're all baby face walking around. Hayes Carll comes walking in, and one of the first things he says to me is like, "Hey man, this is an odd request, but you know, I haven't been able to shave. Do you happen to have like a razor?" And I was like, "Matter of fact, I got a shaving kit." I said, "You'd have come here 2 days ago, we all would have looked like grown men instead of kids."
Instead of a bunch of kids.
So he shaves, whatever it is, and that is, I don't even really think of that moving forward. I'm booking him at House of Rock all these years later, Songwriter Showcase. He walks in and says, "Hey, he's a big fan. You know, didn't you probably remember me from Adam, but I worked with the Executive Surf Club, you know, before." And he goes, "Yeah, man, I remember you gave me a razor and some shaving cream," and I was mind blown.
You're
I was like, how did that happen? You know what I mean? Like, how did that happen?
Yeah, man, I needed a shave.
Yeah. But anyway, it's cool, man. So once again, why do I like music stories and bringing people together? I mean, it's my dad used to tell me there's easier ways to make a hard living. You know, all the hours that go into working and the late nights and early mornings. You know, but I mean, I wouldn't have it any other way. It's just how I'm wired. So
man.
Beautiful.
Like a musician.
man.
Anything you want to bring up coming up your way, House of Rock or anything else?
Yeah, it's more the same. I mean, man, just hitting us up, checking out the website. I mean, I really appreciate what you guys are doing, with the songwriter stuff, and looking forward to February and some dates in between here and there, and just the whole talking about music, man. This is great. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming, Casey. Yeah, man.
No.
It's definitely our pleasure.
Yeah, very cool.
Katie, do you have anything to add, Katie?
He's out of there.
Oh,
It's passed out.
I spent the first 40 minutes flipping all over the apartment.
I'm out.
Now she's passed
playing
out.
with his little
Already changed all the cables, man. She's done.
Done.
All right, thank you so much.
Thanks, Casey.